Who was Major General Marion Carl? Why was he unique to Marine Corps and aviation history? What were his achievements as a test pilot, as well as in combat? And how did he spend his retirement years, and how did his amazing life tragically end? Marion Carl's amazing flying career spanned from World War II, the Korean War, and the Vietnam War. Marion Eugene Carl was born on November 1, 1915 in Hubbard, Oregon, and attended Oregon State University in Corvallis, where he studied aeronautical engineering and joined the Army ROTC program. While at college, he took flying lessons, and amazingly soloed after only 2 hours and 35 minutes of dual instruction in the Taylor J-2 Cub. Graduating from college in 1939, he resigned from the Army and decided on a Marine option, and he graduated flight school in Pensacola, Florida in December of 1939. Marion was a naturally gifted pilot. His unit flew the F-2F Brewster Buffalo, and then they were handed the F-4 F-3 Wildcat after they arrived at Midway Island. Ironically, one of Carl's students was a newly commissioned Marine lieutenant named Joseph Foss. Joseph Foss and Marion Carl would serve later with Marine legend Indian Joe Bower at Guadalcanal. The Japanese attack on Midway Island on June 4, 1943 by more than 100 aircraft of the Imperial Japanese Navy was Carl's first day of war. Radar gave the Marine and Navy pilots time to take off and engage the enemy. Carl's first engagement saw his Wildcat getting hit by enemy rounds, so he performed some aerobatics and climbed into a cloud. Slipping his fighter using the rudder, he made the A6M20 behind him overshoot. He managed to fire his guns, but they jammed, and the enemy Zero broke off contact. Clearing his guns, he came across another lone Zero and shot it down for his first victory. When Carl's F-4F and another F-2F Brewster Buffalo landed, they saw that Midway was destroyed, and 15 of the 25 fighters that had scrambled that morning failed to return. His unit, VMF 221, ceased to exist. Captain Marion Carl and the few remaining pilots joined VMF 223, VMF being the designation for Marine fighters, formed by Major John L. Smith. Their 19 Wildcats flew from the USS Long Island and landed at their new base on Guadalcanal, call sign Cactus. Carl and his unit racked up an impressive list of kills, but on August 26, 1942, Carl faced perhaps his toughest opponent, Imperial Japanese Naval ace Lieutenant J.G. Junichi Sasai, with 27 victories, and the one-time squadron leader of Saburo Sakai, jumped Carl as he was landing. But Carl pulled his wheels up and climbed into the head-on attack, sliding to the right, firing into the Zero, which disintegrated. Carl was later shot down the following month in September and had to bail out, finally making it back to base 5 days later. Carl and Major Smith were in competition to be the leading ace, with Foss not far behind, as Carl had 16.5 victories and the Navy Cross. Smith had 19 victories and the Medal of Honor, and Foss ended the war with 26 victories. Marion Carl was soon thereafter promoted to Major and took over the command of the squadron. Returning to El Toro, California, Marion Carl reorganized VMF 223 and married his sweetheart, Edna Kervin. In July, VMF 223 returned to the war, posted to Vella La Vella in the Solomon Islands. They would make routine missions to Rabaul on New Georgia, where the best Japanese Navy pilots were located. Carl shot down 2 more enemies, scoring 18.5 victories, but he was returned to the States, assigned to the first class at the Naval Test Pilot School at Patuxent River, Maryland, where he remained through the end of the war. Carl later became a Navy test pilot, setting a world speed record of 651 miles per hour on August 25, 1947 at Muroc Field, now Edwards Air Force Base. In 1953, he set a world altitude record of 83,235 feet. He became the first Marine to land a jet on a carrier and the second Marine ever to fly helicopters. Marion Carl commanded Marine Corps' 1st Jet Squadron, VMF 122, flying McDonnell FH-1 Phantoms. But he later returned to flight testing, and in 1953 flew the Douglas White D-5582 to a record 83,235 feet, and that was when he set the unofficial speed record of 1,100 miles per hour. In 1949, Carl's flying skills saved his life when the F-9F Panther he was flying at night lost all power and electrics. He managed to dead stick land, no instruments, no landing lights, and with a frozen windscreen. Quite impressive. In April 1952, while testing the Grumman AF-2 Guardian anti-submarine aircraft, he had to manually bail out when the ejection system failed. Carl applied for the space program. He was well qualified. Unfortunately, he was too tall to fit into a space capsule, so the next choice was another Marine pilot named John Glenn. In 1965, Carl was a brigadier general and flew the A-4 Skyhawks, F-4 Phantoms, and F-8 Crusaders, but he mainly flew H-34 helicopters and the UH-1 gunships. In 1967, he took his last command at Cherry Point, North Carolina. He retired in 1973 with 13,000 flying hours and 21 decorations on June 28, 1998, in his Roseburg, Oregon home. At age 82, Marion Carl, comfortably in retirement, confronted an armed intruder named Jesse Stewart Fannis, age 19. What happened was Fannis was armed with a shotgun, and after kicking in the door had fired and wounded Marion's wife, Edna, in the head. Marion Carl confronted the intruder to protect his wife, but he was killed by a blast from the shotgun. Fannis, after the murder, made off with a few $100s in cash and their car keys, but was later caught in California, extradited, convicted, and sentenced to death. But that sentence was later commuted to life in prison. Major General Marion Carl was buried in Arlington National Cemetery, not far from his friend and Marine MOH recipients Joe Foss and Ken Walsh. In 2001, Carl was inducted into the National Aviation Hall of Fame. Marine Corps Air Station Kaneohe, Hawaii also rededicated that in his name in 2009. Marion Carl was a quiet war hero, thoughtful gentleman, always polite, always generous with his time. When people met him, they would never suspect that there was a world-class warrior within, unless they knew him. For more on the life and career of Marion Carl, I highly recommend his autobiography, Pushing the Envelope, written with our mutual friend and prominent historian Barrett Tillman. We hope you enjoyed this segment of Forgotten History. Please click like and subscribe for free. And please stay tuned and be engaged and informed. Send us comments if you have questions or even show ideas, and we will respond to all requests and comments as soon as we can. Thank you.